What's up, everybody? You know what time it is again, of course. It's time to talk about movies. But in this video, I'm doing a part two. So I'm doing a recommendation of movies you should watch while you're quarantining. I hope everything is working out with everybody. I know people are probably starting to get bored and tired of everything, but as far as safety, and I've kind of came to the conclusion myself that I'm getting tired of quarantining, but I'm never tired of watching films. So I'm definitely going to recommend some more movies, part two of you should watch while you're quarantining. So I'll start with 40 Meters Down. This is a very good suspenseful shark film. I do enjoy sharks films. I like all kind of films basically, and this is a good suspense film starring Mandy Moore, where girls get stuck underneath the water and they're surrounded by killer sharks who are hungry. So I recommend 40 Meters Down below that you should check out. The next film I'm going to recommend is a great cinematic achievement, which is Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot is flawless as Wonder Woman. It's a great watch. Her and Chris Pine have great chemistry as romantic interests, and they bring the mythology from the comic book to life greatly in this film. So I definitely recommend checking out Wonder Woman while you're quarantining, while you're at home watching. The next movie I recommend is Man of Steel. Regardless of how people feel like the DCEU, the DC Cinematic Universe with Warner Brothers, I think Man of Steel is one of the best Superman films that's ever made. It's really great. I love the origin of it and everything, how they set it up, the visual effects, and I also like Henry Cavill as Superman. I really do. I enjoy it a lot. So I recommend Man of Steel to check that out while you're quarantining. The next film is just a riot. This is Girls Trip. I recommend watching this. It's a lot of fun. It's a riot. It's what you're supposed to do when you actually go on a trip, which is to have fun. And these ladies have fun and they're over the top. And I recommend watching that if you want to be over the top with them. So that's Girls Trip. I recommend watching that. The next film, I am a huge big fan of animation and claymation, and it's Paranorman. Paranorman is great. It's basically like a comedy animation version of Sixth Sense. This kid can see and talk to dead people, and it's really well done. I love animated films. I love claymation films. They're really done creatively, and I recommend watching Paranorman. The next film I recommend is a heist and scam film. It's a comedy starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sigourney Weaver, Gene Hackman, and Ray Liotta, who's not on the poster. Ray Liotta, that is. And it's a good laugh out loud film. It's a lot of fun. The ladies are sexy. They use their feminine wiles and looks to get what they want from men, and it is well done. So I recommend watching Heartbreakers. The next film I recommend is Neighbors with Seth Rogen and Zac Efron. They have great chemistry to go back and forth as neighbors. Zac Efron is part of fraternity, and Seth Rogen is a young couple who's trying. He's a young married. He's part of a young married couple who's trying to make children, and this fraternity is making it hard for that because they make hard to do that because they are making a lot of noise and having fun because they're young 21-year-olds. So chemistry is solid. It's a lot of fun. It's funny. I recommend that. Next film I recommend, we're going back to my childhood, is So I Married an Axe Murderer with Mike Myers. He basically marries a woman who thinks is an axe murderer based on the news that he sees and the characteristics that his wife embodies. She thinks she might be the axe murderer the news is talking about. It's a lot of fun. It's funny, of course, over the top. We have Michael Myers, who is the king of Austin Powers, so of course it's funny, and I recommend watching that. I used to watch a lot when I was 9, so the next film I recommend that you guys watch is Disney Moana. This is about culture, tradition, and spirituality. The animation is absolutely beautiful. They have some catchy sing along, songs as you know with Disney. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who plays Maui, he's really good and catchy, and it has a good message like most Disney films. So I recommend Moana for sure. The next film I recommend is a very interesting concept. It's called Everyday. So basically, it's about an energy, a spirit that takes over somebody's body for 24 hours every single day. This girl falls in love with that energy regardless of what the sex the energy embodies, and goes on a bit of a journey with this to make them realize, the energy makes her realize, you can't go on forever. You have to fall in love with someone who's consistent. And he recommends, while he's another person's body, to fall in love with this particular person. So it's such an interesting concept. I'm thinking about reading a book. It is a book adaptation, and it is good. So I don't know if the movie's good. Usually the book is better than the movie. So I recommend watching every day. Next movie I recommend is a comedy. Two Can Play That Game, starring Vivica A. Fox and Morris Chestnut. Now, this is about the battle of the sexes done in a very fun way. Serious is a serious matter a little bit. Depends on who you are. But this is about being a player, except the woman is a player, usually in real life and also in Hollywood narratives. The man is a player. So this is about the woman being a player. She does something that he doesn't like, and so she sets up a bunch of rules he's completely oblivious about. His friend is played by Anthony Anderson, who actually catches on and says, this woman is actually, she has some rules going on. He's like, nah, Norris Chestnut scared her. No, he denies it and everything, doesn't realize it. But she is setting a bunch of rules for him to actually act like how she wants him to act. And it's done in a fun way, lovely way, and a sexy way. And Vivica A. Fox is really good in this film. So I recommend watching Two Can Play That Game. The next film I recommend is, I believe, is a great visual effects cinematic achievement, and that's James Cameron's Avatar. In my first video I did, Titanic. I just think James Cameron is a great storyteller. He's beyond a great filmmaker. He's a great storyteller. And that's the difference between a great film, a film that's okay, and a great film. You have to be an awesome storyteller. And he's no exception with Avatar. People have said basically it's Pocahontas, and it is, but it's taken to the next level with technology. And this film still holds up visually today. It looks like it was released today, literally, or even tomorrow. 11 years later, it came out in 2009. And it held the #1 box office gross of all time for 10 years, and understandably so. It's amazing. James Cameron is no exception here. He does his best work ever, and I can't wait for the sequels if they ever get released, because they've been working on those for years. But I actually like them when studios take their time to make films, because most of the time it's really, really good when they take their time. So I recommend watching Avatar as another film while you're quarantining. Next film I recommend is Home, which is another Nancy Meyers production. It's actually done by her daughter. I recommended Something's Gotta Give my first recommendation video, and I always described it like I described in my first video, as making films that are, they're perfect, but in reality. And this is no exception. Reese Witherspoon is great. I really like her. She plays a woman who lives in New York, who's in the midst of a divorce, who goes back to live in her father's house, who's a famous screenwriter. She meets these three guys who wants to be up-and-coming screenwriters, who are about 13 years younger than her. She has an affair with one of them. She ends up ending it for different reasons, or one reason then more. And they end up being friends, for a lifetime, just moving on. And it's just a nice, feel-good home film about being perfect in reality, and just about relationships, and where do you go after divorce, and where do you go while you're trying to make it, and trying to achieve your goals, as far as career and economically. So I recommend Home. That's a good film. Nancy Meyer production. The next two films, and my last two films I recommend, is a part of a franchise. It's a comic book franchise. It's very well known, and it's Deadpool 1 and 2. Now, Ryan Reynolds is perfectly cast in this film. He embodies the comedy, the seriousness of it, the comic book s-ness of it. And it's just so much fun to watch him and watch the story play out. I remember watching the first film 4 years ago and just laughing out loud with the people I went with. I literally went with 12 people. They're all my family's cousins, and a mixture of cousins and also brothers and sisters, and we laughed out loud. It was just a lot of fun. It made a lot of money. It was a hit, and so was the second one. And so I recommend both Deadpool 1 and 2. Part of the franchise. You're never going wrong. Both of them are equally just as good. It really is. So I recommend Deadpool 1 and 2. Check that out with Ryan Reynolds. So that's it for my film, my recommendations for more films while you're quarantining. I hope everybody is safe, like I said. Hope everything is working out. And here's some bit of entertainment and movies that I recommend personally that you watch while you're relaxing at home, and waiting for this quarantine to be over. If you like what you've seen, you like my videos, please subscribe, because I will be uploading at least one video as far as review or recommendation, or talking about films in general, at least once a week.